Okay guys, so I'm inside the car, and in order to show you what's going on, I do have to turn on to auxiliary power. Now with these cars, there's no key. You can't put the key in and turn it backwards like you used to do in the older cars to put it into auxiliary power, or accessories, we used to call it back then, I guess. But if you do have the fob in your pocket and you're not going to start the car, you just want to go into accessory mode so that you can run your radio or CD player, or whatever the case may be. You pretty much do the same thing, except you don't use the key. What you do is we have the start button down here. Now normally to start the car you'd step on the clutch and hit the start button, and that'll start the car. But to put the car in accessory mode, just don't step on the clutch. Keep your foot off the clutch. You don't have to worry about stepping on the brake or anything. The car won't start. I guess as a safety measure, it doesn't hurt to flip it in neutral. You know, I mean, I've already done this without flipping it into neutral. I know that it won't start, but it's always good common practice if you're going to turn a key and start a vehicle inside of a garage or inside of any building or anywhere where you could actually run over anybody or anything. For safety reasons, it's always a good idea to put it in neutral and put your park brake on. I mean, that's a little overkill, but that's what I've done. So I'm not stepping on the clutch. I'm just going to hit the start button down here, and you see it lights up. All the lights light up for everything. The navigation system or climate control or whatever this thing's called, it'll light up. You have everything there. You'll see that you have all of your stuff lit up on the dashboard here. It says run power activated, and you know, it gets a little OK in the bottom, so I just go here in the steering column, click OK. It dismisses that, so now I can see everything in there without any obstruction. So the next thing that I'd want to do is I'd want to make sure that the car is in the snow and ice mode. So what I would do is this is our mode button down here. If you guys can see that, it's not a lot of light, but I'm sure you can. I have to flip this mode button, and when I flip the mode button, we've got several different modes. There's your normal, and there's your Sport Plus, and there's our track, and that's our snow and wet. Now when we go to snow and wet, now that's set. I don't have to touch it. It's actually in snow and wet just by flipping to that particular mode. So we still have some traction control on. So what we got to do now to turn the traction control off is we go down here. This is our traction control button right here. So if we flip that once, what I need to do is I need to verify whether it's on or off. I know it's on, but I'm going to verify. If I flip it once, it should tell me traction mode is off. Traction control is off. So that's fine. I don't want it off. I want it on right now. And let me explain here. I turn it back on. I turn it back on because what you do when you know that it's on, this is what I wanted to confirm, was that it is actually on. Now that it's on, what I do is I hold this traction control button down here up for, I think it's somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds. I think it's like 7 seconds approximately. And then you'll see it says advanced track off. Now, that means all traction control is completely turned on. So now I don't have any traction control turned on whatsoever, and I have the car in snow and wet mode. And as I said, the snow and wet mode actually is for driving in the snow. Obviously, I guess it didn't say that, but it's for driving in the snow or on a wet road or whatever. It reduces the horsepower substantially so that you don't spin out so easy. Mind you, with 435 horsepower, it doesn't drop it enough that you won't spin the car. I mean, you can still spin it on ice, but especially now that the advanced track is completely turned off. Now I go out and I take this thing for a drive in the snow and ice, and it's just like it would have been back in the day when I was driving my 1974 Ford, what was it? 1974 Ford Torino. Yeah, my 1974 Ford Grand Torino. It was a 5-liter engine. We didn't call it 5-liter back then. Back then we call it 302 or 302 cubic inch. But it's the same thing. This is the 302 cubic inch in this one as well. But the one that was in the Ford Torino probably had about, I would say maybe 150 horsepower, 160, 80 horsepower. It's less than 200 horsepower. And it was an automatic, and it had highway gears. So, I mean, I could pull out in the road with that and put it in first gear and step on it really hard, and it wouldn't spin unless it hit a patch of sand or the road was wet. And even then, it's doubtful it would spin. And if it did spin, only one wheel would spin because it didn't have posi track. But, and that was even worse in the wintertime too, not having posi track. Trying to drive a rear-wheel drive car and not having posi track or limited slip differential, where one will slip a little bit and then centrifugal clutch inside the differential will kick in and cause both wheels to spin together at the same speed. And that gives you better traction. So in other words, if you had any amount of horsepower and you had a limited slip differential or a posi track, if you want to call it that, and you went out and you put her in first gear and you nailed it, you had enough power to spin your tires, you'd end up with 2 black marks. If you were to take the old 74 Gran Torino that I had, and if you had enough power to do any spinning, and you went out and you put it in first gear and you stomped on it and spun your tires, you'd end up with 1 black mark. Only 1 tire would spin. And I do believe, if I remember right, it was the passenger side. I think rule of thumb, most of those cars was all passenger side would be the one that would spin. So what I've done is I've actually, let me back up there for a second. I also had a 1970 or 71 Plymouth Barracuda. That had a 318 cubic inch engine. That'd be a little more than a 5 liter. I don't know, 5.2, 5.1, something like that. But anyway, it was pretty good. It probably had 200 horsepower or so, I would guess. And that one would spin the tires. I mean, it wouldn't spin real easy. You'd have to know what you're doing there with it. It was an automatic, no clutch, so no manual clutch. That did have a posi tracker, limited slip differential, though. And this would be like driving that, with the exception that this has got a lot more power. So, so I mean, what I'm getting at here is that I've had a lot of experience driving, like I said a while ago, rear-wheel drive cars with no traction control and no decent tires on them in the wintertime. And I've done a lot of that. I'm not as confident with it now as I was back then. I mean, I was younger back then. I didn't give a crap about anything. I just figured I could handle anything, and I just went at it with no fear, right? As you get older and you get a little wiser and you've been through a lot of crap, you start to realize that there should be a little bit of fear involved. So, or a little bit of concern, not necessarily fear, a little bit of concern. So when I take this out, I do have a little bit of concern. I try to take it easy with it. I mean, I do play with it. Even when I put it in that mode, I can still spin the tires on the ice. I mean, I can't spin the tires on the ice if I don't take the advanced track off. But if I take the advanced track off, I can fishtail this thing all over the place. I mean, I could sit there and go in circles for hours. So yeah, I mean, for me, I have to revert back to what I'm used to. So what I do is I make those couple of settings that I just showed you in this car, and that kind of puts it back to what I would have driven back in the day when I first started driving, what I had the most experience with. So that's how you drive a 435 horsepower, 400 foot-pound torque rear drive vehicle with summer tires that are almost worn out on the back, on packed snow and ice, and sand. Right now on the street, there's a lot of sand down in a few places. So even in the sand, you got to be careful when you got all that set up like that. You step on it just a little bit, even when you got it in snow and wet, and it really shouldn't spin all that much because the horsepower's dropped down. It'll still go around in circles. Like, you got to be careful. You just bat your eye and you're gone. So, not to mention the fact when it comes to stopping or pulling out somewhere too, you got to realize that on the front there's also summer tires. I mean, they have better tread on them. They're not worn out anything like the back ones, but they're not supposed to be out in weather under 0 degrees. So if you take it out on a day where you got snow and stuff on and it's a little bit chilly, I think today was like minus 19. It's probably like minus 14 or something now. Those tires are definitely unstable. So I mean, even the front end can slide, right? You pull out, you start to steer to go somewhere, and your front end could just slide right over. So you gotta be driving with extreme caution. And I guess it's probably a good thing to note is that if you're driving Mustang GT with that much horsepower, whether you got worn out tires or not, you probably shouldn't take it out in wintertime. This is not something that says that this is how you guys do it. This is how I do it. If you guys take a chance to do it, that's your tough luck if you have a problem. I'm not recommending it. It's not a good idea. So I guess the last thing I want to leave you guys with is, like I said a few moments ago, I probably mentioned that the holiday season is obviously coming up, as everybody knows. Things are getting busy. There's going to be a lot of shopping, and I've got some shopping I've got to do. I've got some other things I've got to get started on. I want to make some more videos of building some things that I've mentioned before downstairs, such as the wet bar. There's 2 different things I've got to build there for the wet bar. One's going to be a kind of a countertop with a sink with some storage space underneath, and then of course some form of a counter space and storage, which we would consider the bar that'll sit in front of that. Nancy wants me to start on that anytime, so I'm going to be doing some videos on that when I get going. And I'm sure that's not going to happen till after Christmas. There's just too much going on, too many parties and too much stuff going on. So I think that this will probably be the last video that I put out until after Christmas. If something comes up in the meantime, in between, and I have a chance to capture something, like maybe the whole family get together, Christmas dinner or whatever like that. Maybe get a few shots there. Then I'll throw it out if I have time. But I guess until then, hope you guys all have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. And until then, peace out.